Yo, we're jumping right in, man. This Smackdown was a disaster. This show is so bad. Every single week you are reminded of how garbage that this show is. Every week it's the same formulaic nonsense on Raw and SmackDown. You start off with an empty promo, a quote-unquote war of words with two jobbers, and then after that finishes, you get to a match, a series of matches even, and you end the show off with either a garbage match that means absolutely nothing to anything, or you end the show off with a promo segment that means nothing to anything. Cody Rhodes, Codarius Rodington, is the worst WWE champion of all time. I am sick and tired of every single week for the last year and a half of this dude being champion, like 80 to 90% of the time, besides Cena's reign he had for like 4 months. Cody Rhodes has come out in a suit or a trench coat or a stupid libation jacket. The libation jacket is kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? I got one myself, you know what I mean? However, that's still it's the same thing. He comes out in his libation suit, his trench coat, or his suit just in general, and talks about respect. And I respect you. I love you. I'm proud of you. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you've done. Seth Rollins, you mean a lot to me. I mean a lot to you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? It's like a song. He's doing a love song every week. This dude's coming out and doing a concert. You're the WWE champion, and Cody has had 2 or 3 SmackDown matches all year. He doesn't wrestle. He doesn't. Can you tell me? I want you to tell me right now, because I will admit, in the build with him and Cena for Mania 41, I thought that Cody had 1 or 2 good promos in that 3-month span, or that 2-month span, so I'll give you that. Outside of those 2 promos he cut during that span, what other great or captivating or memorable, amazing promo segment has Cody had this year? Thank you. And he is the WWE champion. We have sat here for a year and a half and watched this guy have 9 title defenses in nearly 400 days as champion. Then you continue. Just inside the entirety of this entire, whole time he's been champion, you know what I'm saying, for the last year and a half, this dude has 2 or 3 SmackDown matches this year. That's embarrassing. John Cena has 2 or 3 SmackDown matches this year, and he only has 36 dates. Cody's supposed to be a full-time champion doing nothing. I'm tired of this nonsense, man. This is boring. This is stupid. Him barely wrestling is nonsensical. You're not Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns sat there telling peak and amazing stories, cutting good promos, and he even wrestled more on SmackDown in the first year or 2 of Roman's reign. He wrestled 10 times as much on SmackDown as Cody Rhodes has in the first year and a half of his title reign. And that's not an opinion. That is a fact. So it makes no sense for Roman Reigns as a part-timer to wrestle more than Cody Rhodes as a full-timer. Are you kidding me? This is embarrassing, bro. The WWE champion, and Triple H is okay with this. Triple fraud is infuriating, man. This guy doesn't know how to book a show. He's lazy. He's probably not even backstage booking the product. He's probably on some podcast or some crap, okay? Cody Rhodes, for the last year and a half, has come out, cut a promo about respect or love, and then disappeared backstage not to be seen again the rest of the episode. That is what the majority of Cody Rhodes' appearances over the last 2 years have been, and it is embarrassing. We have to take a stand of this absolute garbage, man. No wonder that him and Drew had the idea for him to lose the belt at WrestlePalooza. This dude has no business being champion anymore. He sucks. He sucks. I'm tired of hearing about this guy, man. This is Stardust. A mid-carder will never be a main eventer. Once a jobber, always a jobber, okay? It's as simple as that. This dude's a mid-carder at best, parading around here with a championship for 2 years straight? Are you out of your mind? What happened to larger-than-life characters and stories that actually used to get built? You know what the funny thing is? Everyone likes to talk about Vincent McMahon, you know what I'm saying, and everything about the bad booking that he did, you know what I'm saying, and all this other nonsense about how he couldn't book this story, he didn't do this right, he didn't book this person right. At least Vince McMahon actually had a situation on many occasions where he built multiple megastars that are still the all-time greats. Stone Cold, Undertaker, The Rock, Jonathan Cena, Romano Reigns. These are just the names. Randall Orton, Triple Fraud even. You know what I'm saying? Even though Triple Fraud isn't on the level of guys like Cena or Rock or Austin, but you get the point. Shawn Michaels, etc. These are stars that he built by actually having the championship shuffle around. People back then used to have maybe 4 or 5 months max on a world championship reign, but the world championship never lost its value because you were constantly putting it on different people, building their legend, building new stars, and adding epic moments to storylines and something that actually actually chase and fight for. And you're probably thinking, well, what about Roman Reigns having the belt for 4 or 5 years? Roman Reigns has been an actual superstar for over like 5 to 10 years at this point, okay? Yes, I know he was over pushed, but either way, 50% of the crowd loved him and 50% hated him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it was 60% hated him and 40% loved him. But either way, he has 100% of the crowd control, and 100% of all the viewers, the viewers and the fans actually were talking about Romano Reigns. So by proximity, that still makes him a superstar. And then obviously in 2020 to 2020, well, to now, I guess, is when he actually got super duper over, you know what I'm saying, with the tribal chief run and all of that stuff. And the reason why he had the belt for so long is because he had to. There's no main eventers or superstars in this company, guys. Of course Roman has to hold the belt for 4 or 5 years. There's no other option. Who are they going to give it to? Dr. Libations? They gave it to him, and look how it turned out. Viewership going down, fan intrigue has gone down, and Cody's reign is not 1/10 as good as Roman's reign. So I don't, like, what? He had to hold the belt for that long, and Vince knew this. No one gives a crap about the Crown Jewel Championship with Seth Rollins, who hasn't had a meaningful world title reign in 15 billion years, and Codarius Rodington, who hasn't had a meaningful championship feud since 1982. This is a disaster. Goodness gracious, man. I don't care about this opening segment. Basically, what happened is that Cody Rhodes came out and said, this is exactly what happened in the segment. I kid you not. It is the most empty and lifeless segment of all time. And we're going to talk about empty and lifeless because that's a theme with this garbage company, okay? Cody Rhodes came out and basically, you know what I'm saying, he asked, or no, Paul Heyman was out first. Paul Heyman basically says, who should we talk about? Should we talk about Seth Rollins? And the crowd goes, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, should we talk about the OTC Roman Reigns? Blah, 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 blah. Should we talk about Brock Lesnar, who's on, again, as a report came out today, he's taking another break, by the way, guys, so don't expect to see Lesnar for at least another month, maybe 2 months, maybe more than that. You're not going to be seeing him any time around the time of Crown Jewel, or even after that, probably until around the time of Survivor Series, if we're fortunate enough to get that. And I don't even know if it's fortunate enough, because he doesn't do anything when he does show up. He F5s up 1 or 2 people, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is not enough. Okay, Cody then comes out, he interrupts him and asks, he's like, hey, Paul, did you see the graphic from WrestlePalooza? Did you guys see that this weekend? He's talking to the fans, and the fans slightly boo WrestlePalooza. That is the current state of the product. Fans are openly booing your shows as you talk about them. Then after that takes place, Cody Rhodes then basically says, Paul, I made a mistake because I do respect you. I don't think you're a goon, even though I called you a goon. You're not a goon. You're an awesome guy. You're an amazing guy. But I want to know, am I talking to the advocate? Am I talking to the oracle? Or am I talking to the wise man, Paul Heyman? And what's up with Brock Lesnar? So he asked about Broccoli Lesnar. Paul Heyman then responds with, I'm not an advocate or an oracle. I'm the GOAT. And because I respect you so much, I don't think that you need to see Brock Lesnar because when he comes around, it's dangerous. But you're still in danger right now. Braun Jobber and Brunson Jobber then get in the ring. LeBron James squared. They come out there. Braun Breaker is an absolute jobber at this point. I'm tired of hearing about, oh, well, Braun Breaker's the future of Mania. No, he's not the future of anything. He's the future of mid-card jobbery. That's what he is. You know deep down in your heart of hearts that if you're actually looking at an actual scale and you think about it for a second, can you see Braun Breaker main eventing 5 to 10 WrestleManias? You would start laughing saying that out loud. It's laughable. The fact that this is the guy that they think is going to main event future Manias, I'm like, it's embarrassing. How do we go from Hulk Hogan to Stone Cold, The Rock, you know what I'm saying, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, John Cena, Romano Reigns, to Codarius Rodington, Stardust, and now to Bronito Breaker? This is what we're doing. Like, this is embarrassing, bro. Braun Breaker's been on the main roster for a year and a half, and nobody cares. He comes out, he barks, he brawls, and he spears. The common denominator in all of this is he hasn't told one good story, he hasn't cut one good live mic promo, and he barely has had any amazing matches this year. This is the common denominator, but this guy is allegedly the future of WrestleMania? This company is a failure, and this should prove everything to you, okay? He then basically, they face off with Cody, they brawl. Randy Orton comes out, Randall Orton comes out, because he's not even Randy Orton anymore, he hasn't done anything meaningful in years. Randall Orton comes out, and he helps Cody Rhodes brawl with Brunson and Braun Breaker. I'm assuming next week we'll get a tag match. It'll be Randy Orton and Cody versus Braun and Brunson, because that's all SmackDown is. It's a tag match, tag match, tag match, tag your hit, tag your hit, tag your hit. It's the same thing. Nobody cares about these tag matches, man. Why would it matter that Braun Breaker and Brunson Reed can fight against Cody Rhodes and Randall Orton? Now, After we've established that this segment was meaningless, garbage, and nonsense, where the WWE Champion came out, asked what's up with Brock Lesnar, then proceeded to brawl and then disappear backstage, never to ever be doing anything meaningful the rest of the night, that is an embarrassment. And that is the first 20 to 25 minutes of your show every single week has been that for a year and a half. And you wonder why the viewership is tanking. You wonder why Smackdown has had one of the lowest viewerships ever a few weeks ago. Now, let's move on. We then get another tag match. A number one contenders with the Street Profits and Mello Don't Miz. How many times are the Street Profits going to be a number one contender matches for the tag team championships? They've been number one contenders for the tag belts since 1996. The number one contenders, contender, chicken tender, Popeyes, KFC, McDonald's. It's the same thing. How many tenders are we going to have, man? What do you want, barbecue sauce? You want honey mustard? You want ketchup? What do you want? This is stupid. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins get the W because Mello tried to, the Miz tried to steal Mello's shine when Mello was about to go in for his finishing move, and that was basically it. Mello got upset. He could have broken up the pin and maybe saved the match to go a little bit longer, but he chose not to, and the Street Profits got the dub. They then have a face-off with the Wyatt Six, and that's the end of the segment. Nobody cares about this, and we all know this at this point. Carmelo Hayes is supposed to be the future of the industry. That's why you brought him up from NXT last year, and of course, in the year and a half since he's been brought up, he has done nothing. Carmelo Hayes actually peaked with I don't know if you guys remember the draft week last year on SmackDown with Cody Arias, Rodington, and Triple H when Mello Hayes interrupted Cody Rhodes, and they set up that match for that week, for that, for that SmackDown. That was the last relevant thing that Carmelo Hayes has done on SmackDown. And keep in mind, that was in April of 2024. That is what it was. April of 2024 was the last time a newly drafted first pick in the draft for SmackDown was actually doing anything on these shows. It is lifeless, it is stupid, and they have wasted Carmelo Hayes' time. Triple H does not know how to build stars, and we're seeing it in front of our face. He hasn't done anything with Carmelo Hayes. How has Carmelo Hayes started off in February this year with The Miz, and then the whole thing was, can The Miz and Carmelo Hayes coexist? Will they get along? We're now about to be in October, and we're asking the same question with a supposed future talent, a future great in this industry. This is a disaster, man. We then move on. We then get another tag match. The women's match, we had Michin and B-Fab versus Julia and Kiana James. All four of these women are probably going to get released within the next year or two. The only exception is maybe Julia because, she has a championship and they'll probably maybe try and do something. But the fact that Julia was over in NXT, she was doing great things, putting on solid matches, the crowd liked her, and then she gets to the main roster and the crowd liked her at the beginning, the first month of her being there, and now she's been booked to not even be on the show. She doesn't defend the championship. No one really knows who she is when she's out there. That's why she gets barely any reaction when she comes out. She gets basically no reaction. That all four of these women get no reaction because nobody cares. This is a disaster, and this match lasted 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The fans in the front row, I was literally watching and paying attention as the show was happening. The fans in the front row looked absolutely like asleep. They had no reactions. They were not focused on what was happening in the match at all, man. Imagine spending thousands of dollars and bringing your family out to watch Michin B-Fab versus Julia and Kiana James, a absolute jobber, out there in the ring for 15 to 20 minutes. Spending thousands of dollars for that? Anyways, and with all this nonsense happening, in the midst of all of this, we had a bunch of backstage segments with Stephanie Vaquer and all of the competitors in the Women's WWE Championship match. Obviously, nobody cares about any of this. The match was a foregone conclusion before it even happened, so who cares, okay? We had Jade Cargill and her backstage. Basically, Jade, flicked her hair in her face and basically said, I'm not really worried about you. I'm just trying to win this championship right now. Tiffany Stratton then says it's Tiffy time and that she respects Stephanie Vaquer. If I hear one more time about respect, I'm going to lose it at this point, man. I've already lost it. Everything is about love and care and respect. That's why there's no legitimate feuds anymore. Every single feud is centered around the fact that one person respects the other. Faces are telling heels how much they love them and respect them, and heels are telling faces how much they appreciate their support. Seth Rollins was told on Monday Night Raw by Cody Rhodes about how much he means to his career, and Seth has been his shield, and Seth has changed my life. Like, dude, are you guys gonna feud or hug? What kind of, what are we doing at this point? But that's a problem for another day, okay? Stephanie Vaquer had these segments with all of these people in the match, and that was basically it. I think she had one with Nia Jax, I'm pretty sure, at least. Yeah, they're all said the same thing. It was nothing special here. Nobody cares about the Crown Jewel Championships because they're absolutely meaningless, and they don't even get talked about outside of the day of Crown Jewel, so we can move on from this. And there was also a backstage segment with Sol Ruka as well, and Zarya. They were basically confronting Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, talking about the women's tag belts. So I hope this is something we can do more of going forward, is actually having parts of, pieces of NXT NXT, like a Javon Evans, you know what I'm saying, or a Trick Williams, or a Sol Ruka, you know what I'm saying, Zarya, etc., actually challenging main roster people, because it makes sense logically for NXT wrestlers to actually want to fight with the big dogs on the main roster and put a name out for themselves. That just makes sense. So we should be seeing more of this, but instead we get the same rematches every single week. But basically this segment was basically just saying that Charlotte and, you know, Alexa Bliss basically told Zaruka that they have to earn their spot. So I'm assuming at some point we will see them do a tag match, which I think should be pretty fun. Let's move on to the next segment. Drew McIntyre, because he can't stop thinking about Punk, and he can't stop thinking about Randy, and he can't stop being a jobber, and he can't stop doing nothing, and he can never win anything meaningful, and he can't do anything because Triple Threat books him like a bum. That is where we're at with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre comes out and complains about the fact that the ref was unjust in what he was doing. He was cheating, and he was on the Cody Rhodes payroll. Basically saying that these refs don't work for WWE, they work for Codarius Rodington, okay? He then basically brought up that, you know, his foot is actually hurt. Nicholas Aldis comes out there, I should say, goes out there and basically says, Drew, I'm tired of you complaining. The ref's decision is final, and you must deal with it, okay? After this takes place, Drew McIntyre basically says, what medical team determined that? I don't give a crap. I have my own medical team, not the Cody Rhodes medical team in WWE. He then gets absolutely interrupted because Drew McIntyre didn't say anything. He complains and complains and complains. He has good charisma, and what he's saying is actually pretty true if you really think about it, but it's the same revolving door, so it doesn't matter anymore. The words have no weight sometimes. Then Jacob Fatu comes out. He returns after, 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, however long it's been, 2 months, whatever, and he basically gets nearly zero pop. Like, the pop he got is not 1/2 of the pop quality that he got like 2 months ago when he was actually on a hot streak, you know, and that just goes to show you how Triple H has absolutely booked this dude into oblivion. He made him lose the belt to Solo Sikoa. He then made him lose at SummerSlam, and then we move on from that, and he's done nothing. He's been written off of TV because they had no storylines from him. Triple H had nothing creative to do with this guy, and then we move on from that, and that was basically the extent of the problem. Jacob Fatu comes out. He cuts his classic promo, I'm all gas, no brakes, with it. He tells Drew McIntyre to stop complaining and to shut up, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of funny. And then he basically no-sells a Glasgow kiss from Drew McIntyre, super kicks him, beats him up, takes his boot off, and hits him with it, and Drew McIntyre is laying on his back, looking up at the lights for the 15 billionth week in a row. Jacob Fatu is back, does the little body shake thing that he does, the crowd likes it, and he walks off. That is essentially it. We can move on. Now, after this, we actually got something that I thought was actually very cool. We got to see Sami Zayn's United States Championship Open Challenge, and I guess because they're in Orlando, we got to see Javon Evans, you know what I'm saying? One of my favorite wrestlers on the entire roster in the world today, just in general, in all professional wrestling. Javon Evans answered the Open Challenge, and he had a match with Sami Zayn. Obviously, he's not going to win this match. However, the actual match itself I thought was pretty entertaining. Not the best that I thought it could have been if I'm being realistic, but at the end of the day, Javon Evans is just an athletic freak, man. Everything he does, the selling, you know what I'm saying, the high-flying nature. Some of his moves do look a little bit cartoony at times, obviously, but the way he and Sammy were able to go at it, I thought was really creative. It was actually cool. It was a nice touch to see on this show, them actually doing something that, you know, wasn't necessarily expected, at least from me. I didn't expect this to happen. I thought this was actually really cool, and it was a great addition to the show. Seeing Javon Evans go out there and with Sami Zayn and put on a pretty solid match that I was entertained by it. It was a solid match. I liked it. You know what I mean? This is much better than most of the content we've been getting on Smackdown for many months now, so this was pretty cool to see. Afterwards, he got beat up by the dude he's fighting at NXT, whatever the show is tomorrow or whatever next week. I don't give a crap, man. Let's be honest. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody actually cares about Joshua Briggs beating up Javon Evans afterwards. But the match itself was pretty cool, and I hope they do more stuff like this, like highlighting NXT talent. It would be really cool if, like, a Trick Williams came out next week or something for the U.S. Open title, or U.S. Challenge, U.S. title Open Challenge, sorry. I think that would be pretty awesome. And surprise, surprise, in the main event, Tiffany Stratton retained the WWE Championship, but not without, because listen, the match was okay. There's nothing special about this match at all. I've seen much better triple threat matches than this, obviously, okay? But that's not the point. This egregious botch, if you guys saw, you know what I'm talking about. All right, there was a false count that took place during this match, and it was absolutely atrocious. The ref literally counted 1, 2, Nia did not kick out, and the ref just stopped and pointed at a 2 count, and Nia still stands there for like 5 more seconds without kicking out. It was the worst and most unprofessional looking botch that I have seen, like, probably ever. Like, I genuinely think this is the worst botch of all time, or at least one of the bottom 5 ones. This was horrible and absolutely putrid at this point. However, it gets to obviously a decided victory. Tiffany Stratton gets the W, pins Nia Jax, and she is now going to fight Stephanie Vaquera Crown Jewel for the Women's Crown Crown Jewel Championship. I could care less, and quite frankly, actually, matter of fact, I couldn't care less if I'm being realistic about it. And of course, this episode gets probably a 2 out of 10, simply because Javon Evans showed up. I like seeing Sol Ruka and, Zarya talk to Charlotte and Alexa backstage. But other than that, like the NXT inclusions and Booker T on commentary making me laugh throughout the night every now and then, this show was absolute and utter garbage. 2 out of 10, one of the worst SmackDowns of the year, and we've had basically all of them have been one of the worst SmackDowns of the year, so that's that. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Smackdown in the comment section below, and as always, have a phenomenal day. Peace out, and one love.